Our team name is Real Salt Lake. So there's a team over in Spain called Real Madrid. Not sure if you guys have ever heard of them, but we had a little bit of an association with them, and that's where the team came from. So it's called Real Salt Lake, as in Salt Lake City, Utah. This is where we play from. How did I get hurt? Well, obviously there's a lot of different ways that you can get hurt while playing sports in general, but this past time, we don't have it on the video here, but in the semifinals against Portland this year, I went into slide tackle a player on the other team, and he tried to jump out of the way and ended up kneeing me in the chest, and as a result, one of my ribs broke and punctured the lung. And so I was out for a couple weeks, but was able to come back and play in the final, and then got hit in that same spot again and re-broke the rib again. So it's not quite as bad as it sounds. I'm doing okay now, but it just takes a little while to recover. To be honest, I'm not a big goal scorer anymore. I like to think that I used to be, but now I play defense. So this year I only had one goal, and in my career I've had about 4 or 5 in all competitions. The goal here in the penalty shootout doesn't actually count as your stats, but only one in regular season MLS play. Great question. I was, but I think that's just part of playing sports and part of being in a big moment, that you're going to be nervous sometimes, and that's okay. You can still step up and do your job. And so I just tried to tell myself that I was ready and that I was going to bury the kick and stay confident and stay positive. I haven't. I wish. There's another World Cup coming up next summer. So the way that works, for you guys that don't know, is the best players from our league, and they can play in other leagues too, but that were born here in the United States, have a chance to play for the United States national team, the World Cup team. And I've only played for that team once, but it wasn't in the World Cup. It was a few years ago, and we played against Sweden out in Los Angeles. But chances are I won't be on the World Cup team this year. But we have a couple guys on the team who might, or should be. Our goalkeeper, as you saw in the penalty shootout, and also our captain, who has the long dreadlocks in those photos. They both have a great shot to make the World Cup this year for the U.S. Just when I was little, so my dad over here, who you guys had seen before that we introduced, he used to play goalie. He was a professional goalie in Philadelphia back in the 1970s. But when I grew up, he taught me a little bit about how to play goalie, but I always ended up, playing in the field, and I think I enjoyed it a little bit more.
A lot of pressure, right, to be a goalie?
Absolutely. You're the last man, and it takes a special kind of person to be a goalkeeper.
Chris, when we're teaching soccer here, we're always saying you need to be both-footed. You can't be a righty or a lefty. Did you ever struggle with that at all?
Absolutely, but I think that's a great point. That's something that my dad tried to teach me when I was little, and that I talk to Petey about now, is it's important when you're playing to use both feet. So whatever you do with your right foot and you're practicing with your right, you should try to practice with your left too, because then when you grow up and you're older, you're going to have the advantage if you can use 2 feet and your opponent can only use 1.
Next question.
When you were a kid, did you think you had a chance of going into the major league?
That's a very good question. I didn't know, I think when I was real young, your guys' age, I knew that I would like to be a professional athlete. That was always a dream I had, and I think if that's a dream that you guys have, that you should absolutely believe in it and know that you can make that happen. When I was real young, I don't think I knew what sport that I wanted it to be in. I played a lot of basketball and tennis and a bunch of other sports. I was big into skiing, but I was always a little better at soccer, and I did love it. And so as I got older, I stuck with it, and once I was in college, I realized I had a good chance to become a pro. Since I was probably Petey's age, so 4 or 5 years old, and I'm 31 now, so probably about 26 years, yeah. Wow. Well, when I was little, I think I really looked up to my dad because he always played, and he played a ton of other sports just like I did, so, hopefully in some capacity, I can be an inspiration for somebody else at this point. But, growing up in the United States, when I was young, there wasn't a league. So, I looked up to a lot of international players from other countries. But no one in particular, probably besides my father. A lot over the years. We got a good amount. I think my mom threw some of those away, but I have a couple of the important ones still. I have a ring from winning that championship, which is nice, and a couple medals along the way, and then a couple from college as well. But it's not so much about the actual physical trophy that we care about. I could kind of care less about any of that stuff now. It's more just what it represents and the fact that I was part of a team that was able to win a championship. Everything you could think of. I loved all sports, and I would encourage you guys to do the same until you figure out if you would like to focus on one. And I don't even think you have to. I think kids from other countries tend to play soccer so much more than any other sport, and they just focus on that. But here in the U.S., we have a ton of different sports to choose from that are pretty much readily available to you guys, and I would encourage you to do the same. I played a ton of soccer, baseball, basketball, tennis. I was big into skiing, as I said before, and I loved all of them. And I think that in some way they all helped me play soccer a little bit. And I didn't really focus on just soccer until even college. And I started to narrow it down a little bit towards high school.